goddamn. Hi there, I'm Colin, aka the Tone Wizard, and I hope you're doing very well wherever it is that you may happen to be. I'm doing very well, thank you very much for asking, and in today's video, I'm going to be giving a full album track-by-track review of Ghost's Opus Eponymous. I've done a couple of reaction videos to Ghost on the channel. I did Mariana Cross live in Tampa and Square Hammer, and I really enjoyed the tracks, and I kind of got intrigued by the lore and the costumes and all that with the band, and I thought I would keep going. So I'm going to be doing album reviews, obviously starting with this one and then working my way forward to the latest release. And by the way, I kind of got put on to Ghost by a recommendation from one of my other reaction videos. A guy recommended that I check out Square Hammer, and I really liked it. So if there's anything that you think I should check out after watching this video, please let me know in the comments below. And that was my wife sneezing loudly in the background. So I thought we would start out with some light background information on the album. I did a small amount of research, and I came across a page called Ghostpedia on Fandom.com. And I'll provide a link to this article down below, but I'll summarize what I thought were the more interesting points they mentioned on that page. So a nameless ghoul, aka Tobias Forge, the mastermind behind Ghost, explained that the songs on Opus Eponymous were written in 2007 and 2008, and of course the album was released 2 years later on October the 18th, 2010. He went on to say, the album is recorded over the course of a few weeks in a basement studio in the band's hometown of Linköping and was mixed and mastered by Jamie Gomez Arellano in London. One nameless ghoul said, we did the whole thing with a standard Gibson SG. We played everything through an orange Thunderbird 5, and I think they also went on to say that that's how they got those kind of 70s rock tones. All tracks were written by a, quote, a ghoul writer, who I came to find out was Tobias Forge himself, and he is credited with playing all of the instruments on the album except the drums and 7 of the bass tracks. Now, apparently, there is a cover of "Here Comes the Sun" on the Japanese release, which I would really like to hear. I need to figure out a place to hear that. It's probably on YouTube. Maybe I'll do a reaction to that as well. But I noticed at first that it said all tracks were credited to a ghoul writer, except for the 10th track, which was credited to George Harrison. And then I looked at the track listing on Spotify, and I saw that there wasn't a 10th track. So I just thought it was a joke at first. But apparently, they did a cover of he did a cover of "Here Comes the Sun," which I would really like to check out. The lead character and singer on this album, as I understand it, is Papa Emeritus 1, who would later be retired in 2015. And please, if I'm getting any of this stuff wrong, let me know in the comments. The album was nominated for a 2011 Grammys Award, which is the Swedish equivalent to the Grammy Awards, in the hard rock category. And from what I can tell online, the album has received very good reviews from most outlets. They seem to be 4 out of 5 on average, or in the 80% kind of category for aggregates that kind of do ratings like that. Now let's get right into my track-by-track review here. I bombed around in my work truck all last week, and I gave this thing probably 4 solid listens, and I replayed a couple of tracks that I really liked. So I feel like I've done the goddamn work here. Now, track number 1, there's something you can't do in a work truck. Deus Culpa, which means God's fault, according to the internet. I believe it's Latin. Don't really know. Didn't do a deep amount of research on that. But it's a 1.5-minute organ piece, which I feel kind of sets the mood and the theme. Again, it's just to kind of get the album going. It's not something that I'm probably going to listen to again, but it was a nice little precursor to what was to come. So track number 2, Clavi Con Dio, which apparently, according to the internet, means with nails with God. And I'm not exactly sure what that has to do with anything. And if you know in the comments, please let me know. But this one kicks in with quite the force. You've got your classic grind tone bass line to start things out. And as this was going on, I paid attention to the sound of the album. I really liked the guitars. I noticed that the drums were definitely real drums being played by a real person. And they also appeared to be the instrument that is less produced on here, which I actually kind of like because it really gives a played feeling to the album. But I really did like the sound of the guitars, and this track kind of assured me, because I didn't have a lot of experience with Ghost, but this track kind of assured me that I was in for a treat, and at least it was going to sound good on the rest of the album. So track number 3, this is where things kicked into me, and I got a little sample here. of a section that I liked. I liked the beginning of the song because I felt like, you know, after the first little snippet track and then the second one, this one was really bringing up the momentum. And I kind of felt like this was like you're going out, you're combing your hair, kind of ready to get into a good night out kind of music. And you're saying to yourself all sorts of things in the mirror, like, I'm not going to embarrass myself tonight. I'm going to talk to a pretty lady. Everybody's going to be laughing at the shit I'm saying. And I really feel like this is going to be an absolutely fantastic night. No, it's not. I'm gonna get fucking shit canned. I'm gonna puke on my own shoes. I'm gonna urinate in a gutter. I'm gonna come home in a taxi. And I'm probably not gonna remember much after that. But I did enjoy that track. And that's just what that track made me feel. It might be different for you. Let me know in the comments. I don't know. But moving on to track number 4, Elizabeth. This was my favorite track up until this point in the album. The first time through, I was definitely thinking this was going to be a standout track. And there's a section in here that really gave me Death vibes. And what I mean by that is the band Death, the late 80s, early 90s death metal pioneer band that was fronted by Chuck Schuldiner, who sadly passed away in the early 90s. But there was a section here which really did give me some early Death vibes. Especially the way that the bass really chugs along underneath the guitars. And a little grind tremolo pick there. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I definitely felt as though there was some vibes in there, maybe some influence from Chuck Schuldner's guitar playing or his songwriting. Let me know if you know anything about that in the comments, but that's just what I heard there. So this track is apparently also about Elizabeth Bathory, a.k.a. Bloody Bathory, or contemporarily Bloody Betty. I've actually got an acquaintance, somebody that I used to do some cabaret shows with years ago. She's a musician and a burlesque performer called Bloody Betty, and you should check her out if you can look her up on YouTube. I don't think you'd be sorry about it. But anyways, Bloody Betty, or Elizabeth Bathory, was, of course, the Hungarian countess who tortured, froze, and murdered hundreds of girls and young women and children in the 1500s and 1600s. And as it says right in the song, she was an evil woman with an evil soul. Yeah, I think that was right on the mark there, but I really enjoyed that track. And I hope I haven't ruined it for you, but I really did enjoy that track. Now, moving on to track number 5, we have Stand By Him. And in this one, you had a really hooky chorus, which I've got a little snippet to share with you here. The reason I actually really enjoyed hearing something like that on a metal album is because it's not something that I would expect to hear on a metal album. It's upbeat. There's an organ on a classic rock kind of organ under there, and for whatever reason, I was kind of getting like a Meatloaf Paradise by the Dashboard Lights, I think it is. That big rock opera that he did, Bat Out of Hell. I can't remember whatever it was, but it seems like maybe with Ghost, it's an ongoing metal or rock opera. I'm not really sure. I'm not really that dug into the lore of everything, and I imagine some people are going to help me out in the comments here. But that's kind of the vibe I got off of that. You have a really hooky chorus in there, and that one just seemed like an up-tempo, positive kind of rock beat with some kind of darker subject matter. And speaking of which, moving on, Saint and Prayer. I keep wanting to call this Satan's Prayer, but Saint and Prayer. This might be my actual favorite one on the album. And one thing that I really love about this, and what I loved about the band Death that I'd mentioned, is that they utilize a lovely, clean, meandering, walking, wandering, whatever you want to call it, bass line. And I've got a little sample of that bass line here that I really enjoyed to show you. Satan Almighty, the uncreator of heaven and soul, and the
invisible and the visible. And in the Son begotten, the Father, by whom all things will be unmade.
Okay, and again, more death vibes on kind of the outro there, but that I make a fool of myself dancing on the internet. That's just where my life is at right now. But I really enjoy that. Because modern metal and all these gent bands, endless genting, should really take notice here. And it's something that I think may be being lost. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's some great melodic basses out there. Let me know in the comments. But a melodic, clean bass line can really add dynamics to not only a song, but a whole album. One of the tracks, Clavi Con Dio, that started off with just the classic metal grind tone that a lot of metal bands seem to be just endlessly using right now. You can have songs like that on an album. And then when you hear this nice, clean, meandering, walking bass line, it kind of changes the feel, and maybe it gives it a more prog feel. I don't know, but it's a great way that you can add dynamics to a song in an album. And like I say, towards the end there, I was definitely getting a little more death vibes off of that. But this is probably my favorite track on the entire album, and I really enjoyed it. And it's on my my little Spotify on repeat playlist now. Track number 7, Death Knell. I have to be honest, this was probably the most skippable track for me on the album. Aside from the intro little track, of course. It didn't bother me in any way. It just didn't have as much to offer as some of the others. But in the context of driving down the road and blasting some metal, it still hit the spot, and it doesn't derail the album's momentum in any way. I just didn't think it was that interesting to me personally. If there's something in there that maybe I missed, maybe let me know in the comments. But track number 8, Prime Mover. All I really have to say is that for me, music is all about the feeling that you get from listening to it and where it takes you when you hear it. And I think I can just show you right now the feeling and place that song took me to with another demonstration of my fine rhythmic prowess, my physical rhythmical prowess. That's what I think about that track. This is an Obsidian Dagger. By the way, that's Dragon Glass for those of you visiting Westeros on a regular basis. At any rate, I enjoyed that song. That was a great Prime Mover. It's a great name for that track. And it definitely moved me. I hope I'm not about to have the big one here. I'm too young to have a jammer. Oh, I should have made better choices in my late 20s. At any rate, enjoyed the track. Great track. Final track of the album is track number 9. It's called Genesis. Now, when I put this thing on, I got some pretty big King Crimson vibes, to be honest with you. And it starts off really synthy. I think it's got like that winding arpeggio. It sounds like maybe Tobias or the Ghoulmeister or whoever he is. He maybe had a synth and he pushed a button in the arpeggiator was going, and it was like, and then he's like, well, there's a fucking song. But it's a cool track, and like I say, it goes to some really cool places. And at the ending, it's one of the most beautiful pieces of music I think I've ever truthfully heard in my entire life. And I think that it would be a great theme song for me coming home relatively sober and maybe 2 hours earlier than I said I was, right? And I come in the door, and my family's surprised, but they're glad, and they're welcoming their returned hero, the father. My son and my wife and my cat are lined up as I walk through them in a grand procession, for they know that I will be of use the next day, and I will be able to contribute to their lives as a husband and a father and a companion in a meaningful way. Unless, of course, I stay up draining IPAs for another couple of hours, playing FIFA and losing my mind, maybe smashing a controller. But in all seriousness, this is a beautiful piece of music, and I would gladly listen to this ending. until the end of time. So here's my final thoughts on this album. I think it's a very solid first album. I think there's great musical dynamics. I think there's great, simple, but highly effective guitar licks and tones. There's good bass lines and good dynamics, like I said. There's excellent songwriting with hooky choruses, memorable riffs, and a lot of, once again, dynamics. I hate to use that word at least 100 times in this video, but it's really important in the context of not only a song, but an album. You don't want to just be going like that all night, right? You don't want to be doing a prime mover and having a goddamn jammer halfway through the damn thing. You want some peaks and valleys in there, and this album definitely had that. So there's a good diversity of songs. In my opinion, the singing was not the strongest from an ability and dynamic perspective, but it didn't hold the music back at all, and stylistically it was appropriate for the material. I understand they use backup singers live, and maybe in future albums, after a lot of touring and getting some chops up playing live, maybe one of the future papas got a little better. But I think it's only fair to note that I don't think that English is Tobias Forge's first language, and he's singing in it, so that may help or hinder in some cases. In terms of the theme and the lore and the plot, I was more enthralled by the music, if I'm honest with you, and I didn't really follow along with the lyrics and the story, if there was a connecting story within the album. I heard a lot about Satan. I heard something about evil, and maybe something about an evil woman, but I can't remember if I really grasped much beyond that. But maybe let me know in the comments what I missed. I'm sure I missed a lot. But I did notice on the Ghost website they had a YouTube playlist called Chapters, and there was 14 chapters. And I might watch that, and I'm hoping that might explain something. So in conclusion, I'm going to give this thing an 8 out of 10. It's a solid driving album. You could put it on camping with the boys or in the work truck like I did. And I intend to show this to my son someday because it's an upbeat, cool metal album. And I think that at the end of the day, kids are just down with the devil rock. On the Beatles scale, from With the Beatles to Abbey Road, this is a solid help. So yeah, there's my review. If you've enjoyed this video or anything in it, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel, and feel free to check out some of the other stuff I have. If there's something you feel that I need to check out, please let me know down in the comments. Take very good care of yourself, and I'll see you in a future video.